I get it. Scrolling through a sea of gaming laptops, you see that sleek matte chassis, the promise of a 144Hz display and a brand new RTX 4050, and you start to picture yourself crushing the latest titles. Then the night before you order, you remember that a lot of those high-end machines end up feeling like a compromise when you actually sit down and fire them up. I've spent the last couple of weeks digging into what a typical gamer really needs from a mid-range laptop, reading forum threads, watching a few day in the life videos, and even testing a friend's older model to see where the HP Victus 15.6 lands. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Victus is built around a 13th Gen Intel i5-13420H, which is a respectable chip for most modern games and any kind of multitasking you throw at it. It has 8 cores and 12 threads, cranking up to 4.6 GHz on demand, so you'll notice that it handles things like streaming a game while you have a few tabs open with barely a hiccup. Pair that with 32 GB of DDR4 RAM, and you've basically eliminated the out-of-memory stalls that haunt cheaper laptops. In real-world terms, think of a weekend where you're playing Valorant with a 144Hz monitor, dropping back to Discord, and perhaps tossing a music playlist in the background. The laptop keeps everything running smoothly without the dreaded stutter you've probably experienced on older machines. Where the Victus really shines is the display. The 15.6-inch IPS panel with a micro-edge design gives you vivid colors and wide viewing angles, which is something you'll notice when you're not glued to a desk. The 144Hz refresh rate is a genuine benefit for fast shooters. I timed a couple of matches in Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 and saw the difference firsthand. The frame wasn't choppy at any point, and the motion blur reduction felt natural, not the artificial smoothing you sometimes get from lower quality panels. If you're the kind of gamer who values fluid motion and can actually see the advantage in a competitive setting, that refresh rate is a clear win. On the flip side, the RTX 4050 is a mid-range GPU. It can absolutely run most current AAA titles at medium to high settings at 1080p, but it won't push you into ultra-high textures without a dip in frame rates. In practice, you'll be comfortable playing Elden Ring at 1080p with settings tuned to medium-high, getting a solid 60 frames per second. If you're hoping for a laptop that can handle 1440p or max out every visual setting, you'll start to feel the limits. That's not a hidden flaw, just a reality check on what the 4050 can deliver compared to the top-tier RTX 3060 Plus cards you see in more expensive models. Battery life is another area that needs realistic expectations. HP advertises up to 10 hours of video playback, which is accurate if you're watching YouTube or streaming Netflix. Gaming, however, drains the battery fast. In my test runs, a solid Fortnite session at 80% graphics settings ran the laptop down to about an hour and a half before needing a recharge. If you plan on playing on the go, you'll want to keep the charger handy and perhaps invest in a portable power bank that can handle a laptop. For most people, though, the Victus is meant to be used near a power outlet, like a dorm room or a small home office, not as a travel companion. One practical strength that often gets overlooked is the storage configuration. With a 2TB PCIe SSD, you've got more than enough room for a sizable game library, and the speeds are fast enough that loading screens are barely noticeable. I transferred a few large titles Cyberpunk 2077 Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and Red Dead Redemption 2, and each loaded in under 15 seconds from a cold start. That kind of responsiveness can be a game changer when you're juggling multiple games and want to jump between them quickly. Some competing laptops might skimp on storage or force you into a slower SATA drive, which would make that same experience feel sluggish. The design of the Victus is straightforward, a cloth-wrapped chassis that feels more premium than the plastic you see on budget rigs. However, that cloth finish can attract dust and smudges if you move the laptop around a lot. I noticed faint fingerprints after a few days of regular use, so you'll want a microfiber cloth on hand. It's a minor inconvenience, but it's worth mentioning if you're particular about aesthetics. Now, who should consider buying this machine? If you're a college student or a junior professional who wants a solid gaming experience without breaking the bank, the Victus hits a sweet spot. It offers enough RAM to handle both work and play, a decent GPU for 1080p gaming, and a display that actually lets you appreciate high frame rates. The large SSD also means you won't have to constantly prune your games to make space a real convenience if you like to keep a backlog of titles. Moreover, the Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.3 combo means you'll have reliable wireless connectivity for online multiplayer and peripheral